Welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fabiana Claure. And in today's episode, I take you behind the scenes of a day in the life of a musician and CEO and how I task and organize everything that I have to do in order to get things done. I cannot wait to share with you. Let's dive in. Let me share how I go through my day. And this is always a work in progress. So by no means do I feel like it's all aligned and is all perfect. But I think it would help if you've ever been considering building an online business and what that would end up looking like compared to just the traditional life of a musician. In my case, a big part of my balance and activities have been creating moments in my day where I connect with myself and I build routines. So the mornings are usually very important for me to set the day. They will actually make or break my day if I'm able to stick to my routine versus not. And for me, my morning routines consist intentionally setting the tone for the day by starting with waking up early. Generally, I like to wake up before the rest of my family so that I can have some time for myself. And that really helps me have some quiet time to just ground myself. I have a sauna that I really love being able to do when I can in the mornings. But at the very least, I try to go outdoors and get some sunlight in my eyes to start my just body, and it's so helpful to get sunlight first thing in the morning. And if I can do it before everyone else is waking up, I try to sneak in some yoga at the same time, breath work, and some meditation. So those are my routines that I try to stick in the morning. Now, when I do my sauna, I will say I'm not yet into cold plunging, but I do a cold shower right after the sauna. And that's as far as I can go so far. I'll let you know later if I ever do become a cold plunger like so many entrepreneurs are doing. But at the very least, if I can have a routine where I can wake up before everyone else, have some time to work on my body, whether it's stretching, yoga, sauna, cold shower, and then have some time for journaling and writing my intentions for the day. Oh my gosh, I feel like $1,000,000. I feel so accomplished before the day has even started. So I cannot tell you how important that has been for me to build that routine and to find what works for me. It may be something different for you, but I highly recommend you build the time for yourself before the day starts. And that will allow you to always be clear on what are the most important tasks to handle in the day. Also, during the day, as things get busier, I also block my time. I try to make a plan for my entire week and sometimes my entire month, so that I don't have to be task switching all the time and trying to ask myself, what do I do now? What do I do now? Just being able to pre-schedule your times throughout the week based on primary activities and looking at what are those core drivers and making sure that they are blocked in your schedule, non-negotiable. When you have those things already in your calendar and you're not sitting in your day trying to make decisions around what to spend your time on, you want to block that time ahead of time. You need to know what are the things you should be spending your time on, and those they should be already in your calendar. Now, it's important to set up some buffer time because things will show up. And if you're like any normal human being, you will get derailed, you will be sidetracked. And so making sure you schedule some buffer time as well, so your schedule is not fixed and permanent and strict. That puts you in a stressful mode, like, oh my gosh, this happened, now everything is falling apart. No, go ahead and create some time for flex time, buffer time, so that when things show up, you can take care of them in that moment. You can postpone them, or if you need to push back something that was in your calendar, you have that time already reserved. So it's not a big deal. But most importantly, throughout the day, I would recommend you avoid task switching and try to eliminate distractions as much as you can. I know that's easier said than done, but definitely find ways to build boundaries. Maybe put your phone on airplane mode, turn it off, or just give your team a heads up that you're going to be in deep work mode, right? I love the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. You should definitely look it up if you haven't, because it's a great way to help you find that balance. And those are some of the resources that I've been using to commit to my focused activities throughout the day. Avoid being in a responsive state all the time. If people send you a message or a text or a phone call or email, don't feel the urge to having to respond to those all day long. Like, allocate times where you are in reactive mode versus focus mode. And then as your day progresses, make sure that you have a variety of activities that balance you being in this creative mode versus task switching. One of the things that has been very important for me is finding pockets in my day where I'm not just doing activities that are more task oriented, and instead I'm diving deeper into my creative output, whether I'm playing the piano, practicing, or writing my book, or brainstorming on my next piece of content, my podcast. Having some time throughout the day that you are going deep into your creative work is going to make or break your enjoyment of building this type of business, because there will be inevitably administrative parts of what you're doing that are not as fun as the deep creative work. So make sure you block that out. I also recommend creating themes for your day, themes for your week, themes for your month even. So you can allocate specific days in your week where you're focusing more on creative work, building content versus client work, creating content for clients, or even interacting with your clients. You want to be very strategic in what are those days throughout the week where you are focusing on serving. And again, if you've been building a high ticket business or you're creating an online program that relies more on your knowledge, which I hope you are if you've been watching this episode or listening to this podcast in general. If not, make sure you tune into the first 6 or 7 episodes where I walk you through the A to Z on how to create this type of model where you're not just working with clients all day long, but instead you're building a brand, you're building a knowledge-based system that allows your clients to get results while you sleep or not having to be face-to-face with you. But at the end of the day, you being able to allocate times in your week, maybe 1 or 2 days where you focus on serving clients, but then the other days you focus on attracting clients. There needs to be a balance between attraction and service. Can you allocate and decide what are the days that you're going to be focusing on outward activities like content creation, publishing your work, connecting with people, having conversations, and what are the other days that you may be focusing on back-end work like serving your clients, building the operations, creating SOPs, standard operating procedures, maybe refining the systems you have with your team, and making those strategic decisions. Those will allow you to feel really excited about what you're building, and you're not just focused on one side or the other side, but instead you're building a very nice plan for balancing the two. Very important as part of the day-to-day work, you want to create time for learning. And in my case, I love consuming audiobooks, so that I can listen to them while I'm doing things. I'm constantly consuming content that I carefully select and that I have a queue that I've been very intentional about preparing so that I am learning all the time. And then also making time for implementation of what you're learning, which is, I think, one of the hardest challenges. We can consume content a lot, but then having the time to actually implement on that content, be intentional on setting that out. So if you read a book, don't just read it and go on to the next book. Give yourself some time to reflect on what you read, what were the takeaways, or you listen to the book like I do, and give yourself some time to implement. Map that out. What will the implementation plan look like for you as you go through your day? So balancing work, productivity, creativity, and also self-development and learning is a must. Now, at the end of the day, you also want to have a routine to wrap things up, to calm down your nervous system, to put you in a state of rest and digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. If you are like most human beings, throughout the day, you're mostly in the sympathetic system if you're working and responding and just on the go. But there needs to be a moment of winding down. And I love to listen to evening affirmations. There's great affirmations you can listen to on Spotify, maybe doing something in sunlight, in the evening sunlight. That is also the pink and the red colors of the sunset are very good for melatonin production in your body. So they help you unwind. They help you sleep better, actually. So giving yourself time, maybe go out for a walk after dinner, giving yourself time to be in the outdoors, both in the early morning and in the early evenings or in the late evenings, when the sun is coming down. Those are also incredible hacks that have allowed me to balance my energy as I start. And you're going to start feeling this cycle. I think it's like music. It's like a rhythm. You start tuning into the cycle of life, the cycle of the earth, cycle of the sun, starting and ending the day. It's just going to feel a lot more natural when you start tuning into that versus just going through your day super quickly and stressed out. Keeping these in mind and giving yourself time to wind down, definitely shutting off electronics at least an hour before going to bed. I love to wear red glasses at night. You can get so many of those online to protect you from the blue lights. And be careful with that, because even if you have those red glasses, you will still want to shut off at a certain time and not continue to be connected to electronics, right? But just developing those routines and then having some time to maybe reflect at the end of your day. What were your wins? What were the things that you could have done better? What do you want to do differently? I love listening to Joe Dispenza's meditation. He has a morning meditation and an evening meditation. And I love listening to those as often as I can because it gives you, again, those ending points, right? Starting and ending your day. So look for what that could look like for you. Develop a routine and you are going to feel so much more excited about going in your day-to-day life, balancing whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you have businesses, whether you're working in a job, finding the routine that works for you. This is a super quick episode, just giving you a glimpse into what those look like for me. I'll probably do more episodes later on, giving more insights into this, but hope this helps. This is an example of what I do. It is not perfect. It is always a work in progress, but I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that when I am able to stick to my routines and I have more consistency, my life feels so much more manageable and I avoid myself getting into a place of burnout or overwhelm. So I hope this helps. Let me know your key takeaways. And until next time, let's prosper together.